So don't be mad, but I'm going to ask you to share about your feelings now. But first, raise your hand if you've ever been to a yoga class. Cool. I think I got you all. If you didn't raise your hand, you wouldn't have to share your feelings. In class, who here has ever felt strong, brave, flexible, focused? Who here has ever felt love? Cool. Thanks for sharing. You're all angels. Now it's my turn to share. Don't raise your hand for this part. When I first was starting to practice, I felt none of those things. I felt angry, scared, really lost, confused, depressed, agitated, and I had all those feelings off the mat too, but they definitely got a lot stronger as soon as I started practicing. If I was distracted, it was extremely obvious. I was not listening to a word the teacher was saying. I was doing a completely different pose. My balance was off, and I definitely wasn't doing the most advanced practice of all, smiling. But as seemingly painful as it was, I kept going back. Why was I doing that? Probably because I was working at a yoga studio. And why was I working at a yoga studio if it was so painful for me? Well, let me tell you. A few years ago, I found myself sliding down a slippery slope and into my own variety of eating disorder, which pretty severely afflicted both my body and mind. I was in my own self-induced hell. And even when I realized how fucked things were for me, there was seemingly no easy way out. My body was so weak. The disordered thoughts were stuck in my mind, even though they were killing me. That's what felt safe. It was so much easier to stay that version of myself. But I also desperately wanted things to change. I wanted my suffering to end. And by some stroke of grace, I didn't give up by killing myself. One thing led to another, and I ended up stepping away from college, and I found myself volunteering at a yoga studio up the street from my childhood home. Showing up at the studio was extremely hard for me at first. I wanted to stay invisible, but you can't really do that when you're working at the front desk. So I put on my brightest smile and I got myself there. Eventually, I started connecting with the students and I started to feel really good about taking care of the space. And slowly, I started joining them for class. And I hate to be that girl that's like, yoga changed my life. But really, yoga saved my life. Class became my liberation laboratory. I started peeling back layers of thought, emotion, and physical pain. And by cultivating patience with myself, I began to really listen. And I began to move from that place of listening. Slowly, my mind began to change, as did the shape of my postures and how I felt in them. But the real hook that showed me that something was changing in me was how differently I was acting off the mat. I was more patient, kind, and understanding, not just to myself, but towards others. And my experience of yoga is still changing. My concentration has grown by focusing on the breath, yes, but also by holding a specific object in mind. For me, the object is to cultivate this feeling of love and devotion for everyone. Each posture became a prayer in that way and an offering. I want my efforts in class to extend far beyond myself. I want to better love and connect with other people. Maybe help show people that there are other ways to think, other ways to feel. to tell them they're not stuck. They can change their mind. I'd love to share a quote from this guy, Patanjali. If you know it, feel free to join in. It's verse 2. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Translated as, we become whole by stopping how the mind turns. How is the mind turning? Unexamined, odds are it's turning the wrong way. Sorry. Perhaps what we think what we're experiencing is there self-existently, that it can't change. But the science of yoga tells a different story. Our mind is both the veil that keeps us from liberation and the vehicle that gets us there. And yoga helps us tell the difference. Your world can be imbued with the greatest love you can imagine. You only have to begin to nurture the garden of your mind to see it as so. Thank you. Yeah.